Hello and a warm welcome to TBC News. Our top stories. U.S. Vice President concludes a 3-day state visit. Lake Victoria authorities call for climate resilience measures. Good evening, I am Faida Ngaga. You can also follow us live via our YouTube channel, TBC Online. Also, get all the latest news through our Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter pages at TBC Online. The U.S. Vice President Kamala Harris has concluded her 3-day state visit to Tanzania, heading to Zambia to complete her mission in Africa. Nasa Kingu has more details.
The Tanzanian Vice President, Dr. Philip Mpango, accompanied by his wife, escorted the U.S. Vice President Kamala Harris and her husband to Julius Nyerere International Airport, where they took Air Force 2 flight to Lusaka, Zambia. While in the country, the U.S. Vice President Kamala Harris held talks with the President, Dr. Samia Suluhu Hassan, announcing a new strategy for economic cooperation with Tanzania, following its exemplary commitment to good governance and human rights. During press briefing, Kamala Harris highlighted that her government has provided more than $1 billion to support development and economic projects for women in Africa. Furthermore, the United States Agency for International Development, USAID, has provided $8.4 million to support the environment, marine ecology, biodiversity, gender equality projects, and empowering women in fishing.
Now, to discuss more on her visit, we are joined live by Novatus Igosha, who is an analyst in diplomacy and an advocate of the High Court. Mr. Igosha, welcome.
Thank you for having me.
So, to start with, how important was Vice President Kamala Harris's visit to Africa?
Well, I can say American foreign policy in general is global in terms of its reach and ambition. So their VP, Kamala Harris, number one, it promotes the country's image because America influences the world's financial engines on the international community, speaking in terms of the World Bank, the IMF, and the IFC, which have a significant impact on development of economies of the world, to Tanzania in terms of provision of loan or grants and without having significant tentacles attached. Number two, it gives opportunity because it comes with a lot of influence in terms of tourism. When American president comes, you have a lot of news worth, and therefore a country like ours with a lot of natural resources, tourism, tourist destinations, you're going to have tourist influx coming into the country. So in terms of investment and trade, it's a chance to have opportunities from the West and other Western partners and global partners.
Okay.
Yes.
Now, how would you evaluate the success of this visit?
Number one, I think our country is going to have significant investment in terms of AGOA, which began during the reign of President Bush, Obama, and during our fourth phase presidency under Dr. Kikwete. Growth. However, under the Overseas Development Institute, there was a research which was done that when an American leader comes to Tanzania, number one, it promotes institutional confidence, because when they say there was, it promotes that kind of confidence. And therefore, there was a package of $500 million, which is equivalent to, let's say, 2 trillion Tanzanian shillings. and that can impact our infrastructure, our healthy, and of course, food security.
Okay.
Yes.
Now, as you mentioned, we've had other presidents visit other USA presidents. We've had Bill Clinton, we've had George W. Bush, Barack Obama. How have these visits by USA presidents impacted Tanzania's economy?
Number one, in terms of tourism. In 2018, for example, it was found out tourism contributes about 17% into our nation's GDP by the World Travel and Tourism Agency. And therefore, when an American leader comes, number one, other global players, especially tourists, believe that this is a safe place. And number two, it gives us a new image into even other softy economic industries like movie makers in Hollywood, and therefore people can be able to come and visit in connection to the royal tour, which was done by our Excellency, the President, Samia Suluhu Hassan. And therefore, in terms of commerce, we are going to have valuable opportunities because Tanzania, like the rest of sub-Saharan Africa, is home to a changing demographic line because it is predicted between now to 2030 to 2045, most of the young generation will be in sub-Saharan Africa. And this is a significant market for American investors. But at the same time, it's going, if their presidency comes here in terms of deputy or the chief of state himself, they get confidence in us. And therefore, as young people, it's going to give us the chances to have opportunity to explore the American market, to explore American institutions in terms of education or job opportunities.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now let's wind up.
Okay.
Where does this visit position us in terms of diplomacy, democracy, and rule of law?
Okay, let's begin with diplomacy. We have been a significant player in Africa. For example, back in the 1960s, when the era of the Cold War was on its peak, Tanzania has been a significant player in the frontline states as far as Zimbabwean independence is concerned by the time it was South Rhodesia, and today Zambia by the time it was North Rhodesia.
Okay.
And therefore, diplomatically, we had a challenge until we had our own contribution of pushing America to have a significant vote to put sanctions on the apartheid regime, and of course Ian Smith's regime under sanction number 232 of 1965. And therefore, when they come, it gives us a more robust image that we are still a significant player because of...
Thank you very much,
Okay,
Mr.
I appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
I appreciate it.
Now let's take a look at other stories. Prime Minister Kassim Majaliwa has inaugurated Ruangwa District Hospital Emergency Building, which cost 390 million Tanzanian shillings. Lulua Mohammed has more details.
Speaking to the Ruangwa residents in Lindi region who came to witness the inauguration, the Prime Minister says he is contented with the quality standards of the building and the equipment installed. Prime Minister Majaliwa urges the residents to be the guardians of the building, medical equipment and the infrastructure to ensure quality and reliable services.
Nimepita huku ndani. Nimeona jengo letu zuri.
I have entered inside and see our beautiful building. There are equipment in every room. I have met doctors who have all explained their areas well. I am asking all the residents of Ruangwa to be the guardians of this equipment so as to avoid any wrongdoing. By doing so, we are holding back the progress towards development. I congratulate the doctors for their work and despite the distance from the main road.
Na eneo tunaliona na mganga mkuu amesema eneo hili lina heka 100.
On his part, the Deputy Minister of Health, Dr. Godwin Mollel, says within 1 year, the government has invested 51.4 billion shillings for the construction of national and regional hospitals.
For this year, we have received 51.4 billion shillings from the government for the construction of regional and national hospital. We have also been given 54.2 billion shillings for the construction of the regional hospitals.
The Deputy Minister in the President's Office, Regional Administration and Local Government, Dr. Festo Dugange, asserts that the building inaugurated is one among the 80 buildings built in the country through COVID-19 funds, whereby similar buildings have been built in Liwale and Kilwa districts.
This building is beautiful. It has costed approximately 390 million shillings. The Honorable President has brought 800 million Tanzania shillings to build the hospital so that when citizens need to be admitted, they can use modern wards.
Lake Victoria Region Local Authorities Corporation, Richard Ogindo, calls on all district councils, towns and municipalities and cities located in the Lake Victoria Basin in Tanzania, Kenya and Uganda to enact bylaws and allocate funds to mitigate the effects of climate change in the basin. He made the call in Mwanza during an environmental stakeholders general meeting. Here's a report by Moses Matthew, read by Apasia Ringo.
The well-being of millions of people living in the Lake Victoria Basin is threatened by the increase in human activities in the valley, including agriculture, livestock keeping, industries, and illegal cutting of trees.
There is a waste disposal. Waste management in our area is very challenging and leads to waste going to the lake. Thus, it leads to the existence of plastic electronic waste, hospitals and fishing nets.
Mwanza Environmental Officer Fanuel Kasenene clarifies on the effects caused by environmental degradation in the Lake Victoria Basin.
There is an issue of climate change. If combined with our habit, the lake will not be able to support our needs for the years to come. This will lead the environment refugee. So let's change our behavior patterns in taking care of the lake.
The situation has forced environmental stakeholders from the Lake Victoria Regional Local Authorities Corporation, LVRLAC, to meet in Mwanza to find solutions.
In this meeting, we have decided that we will develop methods to preserve the environment and control climate change.
The Lake Victoria Region Local Authorities Corporation chairman in the East African region, Richard Ogindo, urges the communities to refrain from activities that cause damage to the environment in the basin.
Climate change, Your Worship, the mayors and chairpersons of municipalities, we must take this very seriously. Every local authority should have an act. Not necessarily that you must sit and wait for funds from the national government. Those funds will not come because they will never be enough for them.
The motto of the meeting is continuous effort between local governments and the society in controlling climate change in the country.
Recognizing environmental challenges and the importance of controlling climate change, NMB, through its board, added 2 billion Tanzanian shillings to the Corporate Social Responsibility Fund to contribute to the environmental conservation.
In other news, the government says it is committed to sign an agreement with the Open University of Tanzania and Butimba Prison in Mwanza region to build an education center for prisoners who seek further education while serving their sentences. The program has been revealed during the training organized by the Open University for counselors and supervisors of gender desks in all 31 regions in the country. Here's a report by Regina Ndasika, read by Lulua Mohammed.
Stakeholders in the fight against sexual violence, including counselors, supervisors of gender desks, and student representatives, have met in Mwanza region, the main aim being to be trained on mental health, counseling, guidance, and how to report incidents of violence.
Basic counseling skills.
They need basic counseling skills that will help them serve those who will be able to send information about acts of violence and sexual harassment that may occur in our regional centers.
It is a very important seminar for the Open University in Tanzania. not only to help students, but also to help each other as staff and the community around us.
The Open University has been extending education services to prisons. The Vice-Chancellor of the Open University, Professor Eliphas Bisanda, says a prisoner can pursue further studies at degree, diploma, and even a master's degree level while in prison.
After getting the diploma, an individual opened a school inside the prison. We have been cooperating with the prison for a long time, but now we want to localize it in Mwanza region for it to be an example.
Commissioner of Prisons in Mwanza region, Justin Kaziulaya, says the services will help the prisoners to be confident and be able to compete in the job market after prison terms.
After educating these prisoners, it will help them when they get out of the prison because they will have official activities and they will be competing like other people than when they have nothing to do at all.
To begin, the Mwanza Regional Commissioner, Adam Malima, promises to build 2 classrooms for the education center and offices inside Butimba prison.
The regional government will build 2 classrooms and teachers' rooms so that it can be a model education for prisoners who were in prison without enough education, so that when they come out of here, they will be reformed.
Wengine wameingia mule ndani lakini wakitoka na wakipata elimu sasa watakuwa wamerekebishika na wameboreka.
Tanzania Broadcasting Corporation Director General Dr. Ayub Rioba Chacha says the corporation has been prioritizing positive development stories about Africa rather than negative issues that at times are covered by the media outside the continent. Dr. Rioba made the remark in Turkey during the first African Union of Broadcasting and the Turkish Radio and Television Corporation Conference.
We as Africans must utilize, those new opportunities, new platforms to make sure we put out the kind of image we would like to develop of ourselves, rather than leave it to others to define who we are. We have to define ourselves.
Dr. Rioba adds that Africans should live in accordance with their values and embrace interests of their countries.
We have a history, we have our own issues, we have our own interests, and that we as Africans have a duty to take charge in what we do, that we should not continue, we should not allow ourselves to be dictated to be directed by somebody else what to do, what to think, and how to live our lives, and that is an offense to us as Africans.
The motto of the conference that started yesterday, the 30th of March 2023, is Towards a Digital Future Reshaping Public Broadcasting. Now let's head over to Zanzibar. The Zanzibar Tourism Commission says tourism companies have to establish effective communication channels to tourists so that they observe dress code during the holy month of Ramadan. So Movura reports.
During the holy month of Ramadan, there are several changes in the way of life of people, including dressing code, especially in women. In Zanzibar, the issue of dressing code has been emphasized not only to natives but also tourists. It is responsibility of the tour company to supervise dressing code to their guests.
We ask them to observe the way of dressing. These are international codes of ethics. Many countries use them. They are under the UN World Tourism Organization.
Stone Town is the place where tourists visit for city tour.
When they visit our streets, they buy the clothes we sell. The response has been great.
Inapendeza na tungependelea iwe hivyo hivyo, tusi katika mwezi wa Ramadhani katika kipindi chote iwe hivyo.
But why well-dressing code is emphasized?
When you dress according to the environment you are in, you get confidence to enter any place.
Call to parent is to teach the children to observe dressing code when they are young.
Parents and guardians should raise their children with strong foundations of self-respect. There are many types of clothing that suit the environment we live in. We should try to encourage our children to wear those clothes for their own good.
Saumu Mavura, TBC, Zanzibar.
And that item concludes local news tonight. International news up next. And here is international news with Apasia Ringo.
14 miners have died and more than 20 have been injured in a mine collapse in Sudan's northern state. Reports say part of a mountainside collapsed near Al Jabal Al Ahmar mine, causing the deadly accident. Sudan News Agency reports that miners were digging for gold using heavy machinery, which had caused the collapse. Former United States President Donald Trump will be charged over hash money payments made to a porn star just before the 2016 presidential election. The details of the case against him have not yet been released. A grand jury has voted to indict him after investigating a $130,000 US payout to Stormy Daniels in an attempt to buy her silence over an alleged affair. Trump denies wrongdoing. He is the first serving or former US president to face a criminal charge. Pope Francis is expected to be discharged from hospital on Saturday. Reports from Vatican say his return to his Vatican residence at Santa Marta depended on the results of final tests carried out earlier today. The Pope was admitted to Gemelli Hospital in Rome on Wednesday with breathing difficulties. His admission to hospital came ahead of the busiest time in his annual schedule, with events and services scheduled throughout Easter week. The Vatican has revealed the presence of the Pope is now expected in St. Peter's Square for Palm Sunday Mass this weekend. South African Paralympic champion Oscar Pistorius has been his girlfriend. The Department of Correctional Services says Pistorius had not completed the minimum detention period required for parole.
So it is something that you cannot subvert and replace it with something else. You have to serve that minimum detention period. Then thereafter, your suitability is being
13, firing 4 times through the bathroom door of the house where the duo lived in Pretoria, South Africa. He was jailed in 2016 initially.
That was international news. Sports news up next.
Former national team and Young African superstar Sunday Manara says Simba Sports Club and Young Africans must win away games which will be played over the weekend so as to build confidence. Manara added that Simba Sports Club against African football giant TP Mazembe and Raja Casablanca if they want to play semi-finals of the CAF competition this season.
Preparation of our teams, without any doubt, are very good. That's why we are now recognized outside the country. Okay? Simba and Young Africans are big teams in Africa, so we hope that they will do better in their matches, even if one can be defeated, but in reality, those teams are not fearing anymore any opponent in the continent, which is very good.
Simba will lock horns against Raja Casablanca away in Champions League group stage final match, while the arch-rivals Young Africans will battle against TP Mazembe in Lubumbashi in Democratic Republic of Congo. Minister of Culture, Arts and Sports Dr. Pindi Chan urges Fountain Gate Women's Secondary School football team to compete and not merely participate in the CAF African Football Championship to be played in South Africa next week. Speaking after handing over national flag to the Fountain Gate Women's football team, Dr. Chan challenges players to use experience that obtained during the CECAFA Championship qualifying matches to win CAF Secondary School Football Championship.
We want you to go there and compete and not just participating. We are confident that you have capacity of doing so. You have reasons to compete and win. and come back with flag being on top of Africa.
Have it during the sessions, so that they can keep it and it can help them to win.
Fountain Gate Dodoma Secondary School girls football team will represent the CAF region in CAF African Schools Football Championship.
Thank you very much, Malio Cheto, for the sports news. And that marks the end of the news bulletin for tonight. Thank you very much for watching. I am Faida Ngaga. Good night.
Karibu, karibu mgeni mwema, karibu, karibu mgeni mwema, salama, salama kwa kutufikia, salama, salama kwa kutufikia.
Karibu, karibu mgeni mwema, karibu, karibu mgeni mwema, salama, salama kwa kutufikia, salama, salama kwa kutufikia.
Ya Ramadan, ya Ramadan,
ya Ramadan, 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 ya Ramadan, 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 Ramadan. شهر المغفرة من رب العالمين يا رمضان، شهر الرحمة من رب العالمين يا رمضان، كتكم من النار يا رمضان يا رمضان، كتكم من النار يا رمضان يا رمضان.
Ramadhani mwezi mwema umeshuka duniani, mwezi ulio mtukufu toka kwake Rahmani umekuja dunia.